Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. I am the Glasgow Geek. This is the first time I'm actually doing a solo video on my own, and it is just a reaction and looking back on WWE Fastlane and WWE Raw. I've been a wrestling fan for 30 years now. God, it doesn't even seem like that. And I've had a lot of people tell me, David, you know a lot about wrestling, about its history, so what you should actually do are like breakdowns of main events. So I've decided to give it a go, and I'll see where I get. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. If you don't like the video, feel free to leave any criticism or harsh comments that you feel are necessary. So yeah, I'd like to just dive into it, with Fastlane as main events and pay-per-views go. This year, WWE's been sadly disappointing, and that's just my opinion. But Fastlane was actually, on the scale of things, it was actually okay, considering it's this close. Well, we're this close to WrestleMania. We're only 3 weeks away, but it was actually a half decent pay per view. So we started off with the pre-show, all the usual. We did have the United States title match between Riddle and Mustafa Ali. All things considered, yep, very good match. Riddle came out on top, but it was the drama at the end with Retribution turning on Mustafa Ali. So what does this mean now for Retribution? Is Mustafa Ali no longer a member? Are they going to do their own thing? Are they going to break up and let the wrestlers do their own thing? I would like to see Mia Yim lose the stupid name Reckoning and get a solo run. She's one of my favourite female superstars at the moment. But only time will tell. The big noticeable thing on the pre-show was the fact that Charlie Caruso was not presenting. She's had some backstage drama, apparently, with certain WWE superstars. Apparently it's Randy Orton and Sheamus, and we've already been led to believe she's been fired by WWE, but they haven't released an official statement yet on where she is or if we will see her again. It's just that she's been removed from TV, but hopefully she stays with WWE. If not, we could see her in AEW or back on ESPN, but only time will tell. But let's move into the main show now. We started off with the women's tag team match with Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax against Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax against Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Well, it was everything you would expect. You wouldn't expect Nia and Shayna to lose the titles this close to WrestleMania, especially to the two people who are going to be fighting each other at WrestleMania for the women's title. So yeah, it was a big heel turn at the end. Sasha turned heel, I think. Well, I would say, against Bianca, because she believes Bianca cost them the match. And I've not really got very high hopes for the Sasha Bianca match. In my own opinion, I think Bianca winning the Royal Rumble earlier on in the year was mainly just a political statement by Vince McMahon. He seems to be focusing a lot on the black superstars. And I think it's about everything to do with Black Lives Matter. So he's trying to take a big stand and showing, that he supports his black superstars, which is very good. We already see it, like the New Day are the tag team champions, Sasha Banks is the SmackDown Women's Champion, Bobby Lashley is the WWE Champion, R-Truth once again is the 24/7 Champion. So yeah, he's supporting these superstars, which is very good. But after that, we got to kind of a pointless match. It was Rollins against Nakamura. Don't know where the match was made. I think they were just trying to fill some space. All things considered, it was a very good match. Rollins doing what he does best. Nakamura, he's one of the best in the world. So hopefully this is them gearing him up for another push. Hopefully he'll be in the main event scene very soon. Nakamura was one of the best in New Japan, and he's been outstanding since he came to WWE. He has been in a bit of a rut from tag team to tag team, which wasn't impressive. So hopefully this is going to be then putting him back into the main event scene, and hopefully pushing for one of the titles. I would like to see him and Roman Reigns possibly rivaling together. I think that could be a good storyline. It could be a very good couple of matches we would get out of those two. But only time will tell. Next match of the night was Big E against Apollo Crews. Now, I could criticise WWE for how they're handling Apollo Crews right now till, well, the end of time. I don't know what it is they are attempting to do with him with this whole Nigeria gimmick. I mean, the guy's from Sacramento, California, and they've got him out, and every week now he's speaking, and he sounds like a character out of Black Panther. He sounds like he's from Wakanda. I half expect to see him pop up in an Avengers movie at some point. So yeah, not a big fan of what they're doing with him just now, which is a pity because he's a really good superstar. On the other hand, Big E, it's even worse what they're doing with Big E at the moment because they split him up from the New Day, but he still continues every single week and every single event to come out. He's still in his New Day gear. He still acts like a new member of the New Day, even though he's not a member of that stable anymore. So what I think WWE really have to give him like a push in an opposite direction, possibly even a heel turn, change his image, everything. He just needs a complete overhaul. So he does, and it's been kind of, it's been really bad for both superstars. They're pretty much getting made a mockery of, in my belief. But hopefully WWE do something about it very, very soon and try and keep fans entertained. Come now to the high point of the evening for me. We haven't seen the Fiend since TLC, since the Inferno match, and it's been very long and dragged out. And where I stand as a fan, weeks and weeks and weeks of just, is the Fiend coming back? Is he coming? Well, we all know he's coming back, but when is it going to happen? It's got to happen sometime soon. And it's just been these mind games between Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton. Finally, we had the match. It was Alexa versus Randy. And yeah, pretty much what you expected out of the match. There was a lot of rumours circulating before the match that it was going to be a Firefly Funhouse match. That didn't quite happen. It was more of a mind games match. Randy Orton, the moment he stepped foot in the ring, we've been seeing for a few weeks he's been spitting up like a black ooze out of his mouth. That began the moment he even got to the ring. Alexa Bliss hadn't even came out to the ring yet, and he was already spitting this black stuff out of his mouth. He managed to clear that up. That's when Alexa Bliss came to the ring, looking a lot darker than usual. So hopefully this is another part in her character development, because WWE says they've not finished developing the character yet. She's going to change a lot more, possibly to the point where she's even got her own mask. Well, literally her own Fiend persona. So we will have Alexa Bliss, and we will have Alexa Bliss the Fiend cutting about. And then it just became the match of mind tricks. It was Randy chasing Alexa around the ring. At one point, even the lights from the ceiling fell down and nearly hit Randy Orton. So almost a wee bit of Jedi mind tricks going on. And then finally, they both wound up back in the ring. Alexa fired a fireball at Randy. It missed. And at that exact moment, that was when it happened. We saw the hand coming up out of the ring. And another explosion behind Randy Orton, and then all of a sudden there was Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, coming up. Last time we saw him, he was on fire. So when he came out of the ring, yeah, he was in burned clothes. Almost looked as if his mask had melted onto his face. It was now part of him, and he looked like Jason. He pretty much looked like Jason Voorhees from one of the later Friday the 13th movies. There was a mandible claw involved. Randy Orton was put down, Sister Abigail, and Alexa Bliss got the pin, 1, 2, 3. But yeah, it was definitely good to see the Fiend back, because he's probably my favourite character right now in WWE. I know Vince hates the character, the Fiend. It's not something he tolerates very much. Vince McMahon's all about family friendly entertainment. I mean, especially children's programming. That's what he wants. He likes his comic book characters, his superhero type characters. So when you have something that's right out of a horror movie, that's not really up Vince's alley. So at certain points, he was wanting to cancel the Fiend even returning, possibly give Bray Wyatt a new image, and maybe just put him back to being Bray Wyatt from the Wyatt family. I don't think that would have went down very well with WWE fans. Now it would have. The Fiend is very well liked. So we will see where now we go from here. The Fiend this year is supposed to be getting a massive push. The reason they've done this with him is because they kind of ruined his character a couple of years ago with Goldberg beating him for the title, and the Fiend was meant to be this larger than life, indestructible bad guy. When Goldberg beat him, they kind of spoiled that, so he was no longer indestructible. You could beat him very easily. as Goldberg put him down with 2 spears. So now they had to create a new Fiend, one that is indestructible, one that is like larger than life himself, one that is pure evil, and that is now what they have done. So I've got no doubt that Bray Wyatt will retain, sorry, not retain, but regain the WWE title at a later date, possibly right after WrestleMania. And that moves us on to the final match of the night, and that was Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan with Edge as the special guest enforcer. Now going into the match, we know they're not going to take the title away from Roman once again this close to WrestleMania. WrestleMania's only 3 weeks away now. And yeah, it's one of the problems when you do a pay-per-view this close to WrestleMania, because it is kind of a pointless pay-per-view. All you're doing is actually setting up matches for WrestleMania with it, so don't expect many title changes. The match went back and forth, and then near the end of the match, of course, something we knew was going to happen. The referee was incapacitated and out of the match. And at that point, Daniel Bryan did have Roman Reigns in the yes lock, and Roman Reigns was tapping out. Jey Uso got involved in the match as well, but just before the yes lock, Daniel Bryan hit Edge with a chair accidentally, so he did, and that was when Roman Reigns was tapping, and that was when Edge came into the ring and hit both of them with a steel chair. So kind of a heel turn for Edge, for what we've been reading, what I've been reading. Kind of a heel turn for Edge, maybe becoming the rated R superstar again going into WrestleMania. We do know from social media that the match now at WrestleMania will be a triple threat. It will be Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan versus Edge with the title on the line. So whether Roman Reigns walks out of WrestleMania still the champion, or will they give it to Daniel Bryan, or will they give it to Edge? I personally think they will give it back to Edge. I don't think they will give it to Daniel Bryan, because he's expressing his desire to leave the company. Well, not leave the company, but step down from the ring and possibly go into a training type role, a backstage type role. And you can understand his reasons. You know, he's married, he's got 2 children now, so fair play to the guy. It's, you know, he's got his priorities in line. So yeah, I think they will go with Edge and give him one more run with the title. But there is a little bit of controversy around that, because there is rumours backstage as well that Vince doesn't want to give the title to Edge, as he believes he's too injury prone with his neck, and also Edge has a lot of commitments outside of WWE, like with filming programmes and movies. So does he want to put the title round Edge's waist, or would he rather keep it with Roman? There was some breaking news after Fastlane, and that was that Andrade had been released by WWE. Really not surprised at all about that, if I'm being honest. He's been very much mishandled for the last, I would say, the last couple of years, ever since he came up from NXT, because in NXT he was a big success, former NXT champion. But on the main roster, yeah, it's just like many other NXT talent that's came up, it's been mishandled, misused, and he's eventually wanted to be led to the door. That has now happened. He doesn't have a non-compete clause in his contract, so he's free to start working with any other company immediately. So the big question for Andrade now is, where will he go? Will it be AEW? Will it be Ring of Honor? Impact? There's a lot of rumours that he possibly could go to New Japan Pro Wrestling, which personally I think would be a very good move for him. A lot of good talent over in New Japan. I would also like to see him in AEW, because I think there's people over there he had very, very good matches with. You got guys like Darby Allin, Lance Archer, you know, and you know, the list goes on. So it does. But yeah, that was pretty much it for Fastlane. So we'll just quickly do a wee quick recap of Monday Night Raw last night. A couple of big things happened. First of all, Rhea Ripley made her debut, which finally she's on the main roster, so hopefully she doesn't get misused in any possible way. She's a massive talent since she started a couple of years ago in the Mae Young tournament. She was the first ever Women's United Kingdom champion, and former NXT Women's champion, which she lost in very controversial fashion to Charlotte Flair last year at WrestleMania. I was not particularly happy about that. But she made a big statement last night by coming out, and she has challenged Asuka for the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania. Which brings us to our next point, was Charlotte was slated for that match. She was supposed to take on Asuka. I am actually quite relieved myself it isn't happening, because I do think they've kind of poisoned Charlotte Flair, WWE, a little bit, with overusing her, with all the title reigns, the title matches. I mean, if she had a title match this year, this would have been her 6th WrestleMania title match in a row, and no WWE superstar has that record. WrestleMania, even The Undertaker didn't have that record at WrestleMania. She's been in a women's title match every year since WrestleMania 32. So the fact that hopefully she's not getting used this year is really good. So we've got 2 very fresh matches, one being Sasha Banks and Bianca, and the other one being Asuka and Rhea Ripley. There is a wee bit of controversy over why Charlotte is not being used. They announced last night that she tested positive for COVID-19. Now, I don't know if it is COVID-19. I don't think it is COVID-19, because the fact that Andrade has been released and this has happened all within the exact same time. Apparently there has been some backstage heat with Charlotte Flair over the whole Andrade situation, as she's engaged to him in real life, and she wasn't happy how his entire situation was handled, and she's got herself into a bit of trouble backstage. So only time will tell. Other things that happened on Raw last night: Drew will probably be heading back to WrestleMania this year to face Lashley. I'm very happy with that. I'm a big Drew fan, as I'm from Glasgow, so I support my fellow Scotsman. He defeated 2 members of the Hurt Business in a handicap match last night. So a good victory. Took Cedric Alexander's head off with a Claymore, which is never ever it's very, very satisfying when you see Drew doing a Claymore kick, but I don't want to sound biased. But we had Sheamus against Bobby Lashley, but for the WWE title, of course, title isn't going to change hands this close to WrestleMania, so yeah, Bobby Lashley came out with a win. Asuka defended against Peyton Royce. Asuka, once again, she came out with the win. As I says, don't expect many title changes this close to WrestleMania. But the interesting one was the fact it was Peyton Royce she was defending against, and Peyton Royce has kind of been in a bit of obscurity in WWE since her split from the Iconics. The idea behind her was that she was going to be getting a massive push after the split from the Iconics. Definitely a title match. She is rumoured that she's already been picked to win the Women's Money in the Bank in a couple of months' time. After WrestleMania, she will be the next Money in the Bank winner, which is something I would like to see, because I do want to really see the women, some of the younger women, getting a big push in WWE now, because 4 years ago, the women's evolution in WWE was the hype. That was the big thing. The first ever women's Money in the Bank, the first ever women's Royal Rumble, women's Survivor Series match. It was all about the ladies, and sadly to say, here we are 4 years later, and I would say the women's evolution is it's dead on its feet. It's the same matches we're getting constantly. It's the same champions we're getting. It's everything's situated around the 4 horsewomen, sad to say, like Bayley, Sasha, and Charlotte. Becky's not around now. She is due to, she's apparently coming back right after WrestleMania. She's scheduled to be back the night after WrestleMania. So whether she'll be full-time or part-time, I'd actually like to see them put her with Seth Rollins. I'd like to see them transfer her over to SmackDown and put her next to Seth Rollins, her husband. Whether they put the title straight back on her is a different story. I don't think they will. I hope they don't, because as much as I like Becky Lynch, I really don't want to see her straight into a title belt. I'd like to see her work for it for a little bit and maybe have a couple of good rivalries. But as for the younger girls, I like to see Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan possibly getting a push. Peyton Royce definitely. And hopefully we will see Rhea Ripley winning the WWE Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. But yeah, guys, that's all I've got time for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, please hit the subscription button down at the bottom right hand corner of the screen. And I will see you guys soon. If you liked the video, hopefully I'll be doing more. So I will see you guys after.